everyone, to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and let's talk about special education and technology and how it should be both fun and functional. I've actually been meaning to tell you about this Hoglet for a long time. And for those of you who are listening and not watching the video, I am holding up a bright pink Hoglet, which is a computer mouse, but it's not any computer mouse. It's actually a fidget and a computer mouse all built into one. So it's important for us to really look for new tools, new things that we can use in special education that are both fun and functional. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this, but I want to tell you about what's been happening this summer as I've been traveling the country and working with teachers, and I've had a lot of opportunities to work with general education teachers. And when I brought up the topic of technology, I asked general education teachers how many of them had been involved in an assistive technology evaluation in the last school year. Now, in a room full of about 300 teachers, about 3 teachers would raise their hand. And we need to increase that number. We need to work together to make sure that parents, teachers, admins, therapists, that we're all talking about technology and how it can be both fun and functional. And it really can be part of providing an appropriate education and preparing a child for further education, employment, and independent living. So, like I said, I've been meaning to talk to you about this for a while. And here's what really made me jump on today and say, today is the day that we're going to talk about Hoglet. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about why it's so important, is because I was scrolling through Instagram and one of our master IEP coaches. So for those of you that don't know, I'm the founder of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. That's parents, teachers, admins, therapists working together to bring new solutions in special education. We had a conference this summer and I actually gave out some Hoglets. And so master IP coaches brought them home. And I saw this picture on Instagram of a child, one of the sons of one of our master IP coaches. He's holding up this bright blue Hoglet. And his mom said, can't wait to bring the Hoglet to his friend's house for gaming. And I was like, yes, this is it. So this Hoglet that is a fidget and a mouse built in one, okay, is supporting her son, his need to fidget, and it's supporting inclusive activities like gaming together, and it makes him the cool one that we get to support his needs in a unique way that is actually a way that I bet you if we got a Hoglet into every student's hands, they would love it too. So it's important for us to look for these creative solutions. So when I was talking to the teachers about technology, I shared with them a couple of stories about how technology has really made a difference in making sure that students do have these inclusive opportunities, not just like the son of the master IP coach that I just talked about, where we're outside and we're talking about gaming with friends and doing something creative in that way, but also inside the classroom. So I shared that one time I was going down to a school in Kentucky. It was a crisis situation. The child was not participating in class, had school refusal, approximately about 3rd grade. And one of the situations that he was refusing to participate in was social studies. And so I was kind of the fly on the wall, like I was the spy in the classroom. I was following him around all day, trying to figure out what's going on. And we went into social studies and he immediately took his communication device and put it away and was refusing. And nobody could figure out, like, they're like trying to pull it out. They're trying to encourage him to talk. They're trying to encourage him to connect. And I asked the paraprofessional after the class, I said, where's his Chromebook? And she says, he doesn't have one. Well, guess what all the other kids were using to access their school day? A Chromebook. So when this child was going from his direct instruction classroom, often as we refer to a self-contained classroom in special education, when he was going from his self-contained direct instruction classroom into his general education classroom, he was not given the same tools, in this case, technology. He was not given that. So he was shutting down, like, if I'm going to be here, I want to be like everybody else. And I'm like, yeah, good for you. Yes, let's get this guy a Chromebook. Let's do this. Okay. So we did. We got him a Chromebook. And you know what? It wasn't like snap our fingers, get a Chromebook and everything was solved, but it was a big piece of what he needed to be included in that classroom and to be supported. Now, some of you might be listening to this and say, well, yeah, duh, of course. Well, I'm telling you, things like that are not happening organically. We have to make those happen as, a special education team. We have to be looking for these opportunities that we're missing so we can make sure a child is supported inside of their classroom. Here's another example. Same child. I also said, who can talk on his device with him? Like, who knows how to have a conversation with his child with his communication device, the one that he was putting down and refusing to talk with? I said, who knows? And they're like, well, the paraprofessional knows. I said, does the teacher know? Well, no, she hasn't really been trained. Does any other child know? Or are they engaging with him, encouraging him to use the device to have a conversation back and forth? No. Oh, we have to get training for technology put into our IEPs to make sure that all teachers and staff and students who are in the classroom, that we have this communication that is happening in the same modality, using some of the same tools that the child who has an IEP, using some of those tools so there can be an actual conversation and we can build relationships. Technology for building relationships is so important. It's not just about accessing the curriculum. That Chromebook that I was talking about, that was accessing the curriculum. But this communication device, we're talking about building relationships. And I just gave you that example of the master IP coach's son who's using this tool, this Hoglet. That's adorable. This Hoglet, he's using this to go game with his friends. And you know what? It's going to be a conversation starter. In fact, I bet you his friends try to steal this from him. Okay. So it's important for you to know that these opportunities are being missed. And there are ways through assistive technology evaluations, through putting training inside the IEP. And by the way, that section is typically called something like supports for personnel, where we can get training for our teachers, our general education teachers, art teachers, music, PE. We can make sure that everybody's trained in ways that they can communicate or support in areas of technology and other areas too. But we can do that. As a special needs sibling, it's so important for me to have this technology that works between myself and my brother, because my brother had always lived close to me. And recently he moved across the country, which means that we use technology to communicate. And that's not just the phone. Phones are boring now, right? So we're talking FaceTime. He has to be able to use FaceTime to communicate with me. He doesn't write a lot of words independently. And for those of you that don't know, he's 44 with Down syndrome. So he doesn't have a lot of words that he can write independently. His skill level, his language level in that for written word is not that great. However, I can tell you that if there's a sports game on and my team is winning, now granted, my brother's across the country, but he knows, he tracks sports. If my team's winning and his team is losing, I get a devil emoji that shows up on my phone. And I know exactly what he's talking about on that. Technology for relationships is important. This is an area that almost seemed optional many years ago, or even just a few years ago. But these last few years have shown us that technology is something that has taken a leap forward in our education system. Unfortunately, in special education, it doesn't always feel that way. So I just want to, again, share with you that let's look at technology as fun and functional. So let's look at things like the Hoglet. That is a fidget and a mouse built in one. Okay. And I'll make sure that you have the link. And oh, look, I can show you. Look at, we have pink, we have green, we have purple, we have orange, there's blue, but I'll be honest with you. My stepson stole the blue one. He's using it. He grabbed it. He's like, what are these? He needed it immediately. And for those of you who are looking at it and you're like, how would I clean that? Don't worry. You can just take off the cover and you can clean it and you can just slip it right back on. I'm telling you, Hoglets are now a staple in something that I'm going to be recommending for kids who need that sensory input, need that fidget support. And we're looking at technology and we're looking at how to make things fun and functional. It's really important that we're looking at this big picture, especially this school year, as we jump back in to making sure that we're creating inclusive experiences everywhere, inside of the classroom, outside of the classroom, and of course in our community also. I want to thank Hoglet for making sure that we had these Hoglets to give out to master IP coaches. In fact, how about this? If you leave a review on Apple Podcasts and you screenshot it, and you send it in to us, so that's send it to hello@masteripcoach.com. The first 3 people who do that, I'm going to make sure that I send you a Hoglet. How about that? Let me just put this in the mail to you. Let me get this in the hands of you and your students or your children. They're amazing. They're wonderful. So the first 3 people who leave that review on iTunes, again, just leave the review. Say, I loved this episode about tech and fun and functional. And yes, we need to integrate more of this into our classrooms and into our community. Send that into hello@masteriepcoach.com. Send that screenshot of that. And the first 3 people, I'm going to get one of these over to you. All right. I'll talk to you guys next time. Special Education Inner Circle podcast. And again, thank you, Hoglet, for making sure that we know about these and we can get these into the hands of more students. Talk to you guys soon.